Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. Welcome to the most important game of the year so far, because it is Vanderbilt week. Hurst, how you feeling?
You don't get up every week and get to play the Commodores, so a top 10 Commodore team doesn't come around very often. So it's fun to do it when it happens. I kind of wish I definitely wish it was in Columbia, not in Nashville, because that place doesn't treat Mizzou super well. But that's life in the SEC, I suppose.
Yeah. Not what you expect, not what anybody expected. Vanderbilt being top 10. I know everybody was kind of circling the Vanderbilt Alabama game. Alabama was going to get him again, and then put up a good fight and fell at the end. And I think it's just a product of the current era where you lose to Alabama as Vanderbilt, and then you keep winning after that, and now you're a top 10 team regardless. It's one of those things that Missouri and Vanderbilt have in common. Both lost to Alabama in close games. Well, Missouri closer, but that's not important. It's a wild season. I was reading earlier that 2007, which I think most of people our age view as a very fun, very enjoyable college football season, that had a top 10 win percentage of like 75%, somewhere around there. Which meant that they're losing a quarter of their games, which is unheard of. Usually it's around 86, 89% that the top 10 wins. This year so far, 70% win percentage of the top 10 teams. Ooh, what's that going to mean? I don't know. I also saw a stat that teams going on back-to-back road trips are like 2-14, and there's like 5 SEC teams that are on road trips this year, or this week, I should say. So there's a lot of things for, there's a lot of things against. I don't know. It's Vanderbilt. You can't really say that anymore because Clark Lee and Diego Pavia have just bull rushed right through everything that's mediocre and bad about Vanderbilt. But here we are. How are you feeling? What's your vibes about this game before we start diving into it?
It's going to be another tough SEC road game. Is it a winnable game for Mizzou? Yes, it is. I feel that it is a winnable game. Will they win it? I don't know. I don't know if will necessarily even pick them to win it, but I feel much better about their chances winning a game against a top 10 team on the road than most other chances that they have gotten in the last 2-3 years when they've been at the level that they are now. And that's not a slight on Vanderbilt as much as it's the way that Mizzou matches up with Vanderbilt, and it is a slight on their home atmosphere, not on the team, not on their talent, not on their coaching staff, but on their 45,000 person stadium full of people that half Mizzou fans will be half Mizzou fans, or at least a third Mizzou fans, and the rest, kind of bandwagon Vanderbilt fans that may or may not know the names of their quarterback and their running back and all those other people. So that doesn't mean their team isn't good. It just means that the environment will be very different than what it was in Auburn last week.
So I was reading some stories about the Vanderbilt stadium because I too have, again, preconceptions, right? We're going off of 150 years of college football, and Vanderbilt being good is a recent revelation. We're still trying to grasp our tiny little minds around it. I think they went very much similar to what Missouri is doing. Keep it small, right? Really limited seating, expensive seating, but they closed the whole thing in. People were saying it's a lot like a soccer stadium where the sound just bounces. And yeah, it might be half Vanderbilt, half LSU, but because all that noise is just kept in, it's a lot louder than what it used to be, a lot more intimidating than what it used to be. So I think that's what Vanderbilt wanted, and they're certainly getting it. And it's a sellout, man. Like, Missouri's been selling out their home games. Obviously, Auburn sold out theirs last week. Vanderbilt sold out theirs for this week. I think there's going to be a strong contingent of Vandy fans. Now, you're not going to be able to know the difference because black and gold, no matter what. You got to really look at the logos. But I think this is going to be a sneaky, intimidating environment, especially with game day there. And it's a top 20 matchup. Winner's got a really good chance of crashing the playoff. I know the doctors and musicians of Nashville are probably a little less interested in football than the other kind of SEC fan bases, but I think they are geeked up about this one. I'm really curious, where do you think they're going to put game day? I don't even know where you'd go.
I don't have it. I haven't been to Vanderbilt's campus, so I don't know where would make sense there. I don't know if they've got a quad like spot or if they'll be in the parking lot outside the stadium. I just don't have any reference point.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you have you been in Nashville before?
No.
No. So I just went this past spring. Very cool place. Obviously, it's changed a lot over. Well, I'd never been, but if you haven't been there in 10 years, let alone 5 years, it's pretty different. But yeah, it's developed. I'm sure you've seen the video from last year where they carried the field goal post from one end of their main strip all the way down to the river, and that's where all the bachelorette parties are, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, Vanderbilt's on one side, so you have to go all the way down there to get there. And there's a lot of spots that you could go. I don't know if you remember this. Remember when they went to South Dakota State, I think is what I want to say, and they like parked themselves right in like the downtown area of whatever 20,000 metro it is. I wonder if they do that, because I don't know if you how you get a permit to close it off, but I think that could be pretty cool. So
Yeah, it'd be fun. ESPN did the draft in downtown Nashville
there you go. Yeah.
a few years ago, so there are spot, and that's a much bigger event than
Mm-hmm.
game day is. So there are certainly spots if they wanted to go make it a Nashville spot. I bet they keep it on campus, or at least try to if there's an obvious
Sure.
spot. That's just the atmosphere, I think, is more conducive to what they do, but I don't know.
Apparently they've been there before. It's been like 20 years, but they were there previously. I had no idea. So, good for them. It's been 15 years since Missouri hosted game day. I think you and I stood in the rain next to each other during the last one.
Yes, I remember it well.
Yeah. It was one of those days where you stood for 20 hours and then did alumni band. And then,
It was a day. It was a day.
And then walked back, which was killer. So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, for this game, big time. The weirdest thing about, other than the fact that you're saying number 10 Vanderbilt, and you're getting geeked up for a road trip, is just how Vanderbilt plays. I don't know how many games you've watched, Nathan Hurst. I don't know how many you, listener, have watched Vanderbilt games. That's just a good team, man. Like they know what they want to do. They play within themselves. The one time they didn't was against Alabama, and that was Diego Pavia's worst game, and it was a loss. I do think the matchups are good, but it doesn't really matter. Vanderbilt finds a way to win, which is just a funky thing to say out loud. But when you look at this matchup, what's the number one thing to you where you go, oh, if Missouri wants to win, X needs to do Y?
If Missouri wants to win, the offense is gonna have to stay on the field, and they're gonna have to do that by converting third downs. Because Vanderbilt is going to do exactly what Mizzou wants to do, and that is control the clock, going long, grinding drives, and by the time it's the end of the fourth quarter, they're running 15 yards, gashing you for 15 yards, or they're up by 3 touchdowns and we'll just sit on you at that point. So Mizzou's got to prevent Vanderbilt from doing that by doing it first and or doing it better, and then after finishing their drives with touchdowns and not field goals. That's really, if you watched the game last week, Vanderbilt versus LSU, that's where LSU got in trouble. Is they finished the first several of their drives with field goals and not touchdowns. They got down a couple scores, and they tried their best to claw back, and they couldn't. And then by the end, their defense was gassed, and Vanderbilt threw another touchdown on them to make it look worse score wise than it was. But got to finish those drives and touchdowns.
Yeah, that's key. Diego Pavia is just kind of he is someone that you have to keep off the field as much as you possibly can. And the thing that Vandy likes to do is move slow. They don't run a lot of plays on offense. They just take a long time to do it. Usually they're snapping the ball with like 1 or 2 seconds left on the clock. They're really in no hurry to move all that much. Obviously focusing on the ground game, just kind of meander your way back to the line. It's interesting how you see these styles kind of arise when you're looking at these teams. Vanderbilt ranks 119th in plays per game. They're only averaging about 62 plays per game. Missouri's averaging a little bit more than that, but also obviously not a lot. It's really just 10 drives per game. Vandy will have it for 6 or 7 drives or plays per drive. But they go a really long ways. Every drive that they do, they maximize. They're averaging 42 yards per drive. They're averaging 7.3, almost 7.4 yards per play, which is 7th best in the country. Points per drive, 3.7. That's number 1 in the country. Like, they just shrink it down. They play within themselves, and it works, except for that one time. It works. So when you have a team that's so good at playing their style, you have to do everything you can to stay within your style. And I think one of the data points that I see in favor of Mizzou is that they both want to do the same thing. So it's not going to be ripping Mizzou out of this, Chase Daniel era, like 80 plays, warp speed, and now you're going slow. No, like, you like to wrestle in the mud? Okay, cool. Yeah, come with us. Let's do it. And so they're going to be comfortable with that. And I think the defense is going to be comfortable with that. So it's not so much not going to be a system shock, but what is going to be tough is how successful Vanderbilt is on offense. I think if Missouri wants to win this game, the defense needs to be able to create pressure and force them to pass more than they run, because while it is the 7th best passing offense, it's the 3rd best rushing offense, and I prefer that they pass. I put this in the preview today. It's up on rocketnation.com. You can read it. I was talking about Diego Pavia as far as when he's facing pressure. And so Pavia is not really like your traditional pocket passer. We all know that. And he likes to kind of create as he moves around. He's a lot like Patrick Mahomes. Nathan Hurst, did you know that when Diego Pavia is under pressure, he has a 44% completion percentage and has thrown 3 interceptions to the 3 touchdowns that he's thrown? It's the lowest yards per attempt at 4.7. That's pretty good. You want him under pressure, right? So you should blitz, right? No. Listen to this. When Diego Pavia is blitzed, he has a 65% completion percentage, which is absurd. He has thrown for 685 yards and 12 touchdowns. 12 of his 15 touchdowns have come when he's been blitzed. So Hurst, here's your quandary. You need to put him in pressure, and you can't blitz. Do you think Zion Young and David Wilson can do that?
I think they can. Vanderbilt does have a good offensive line, but
Really
I think they can. They can do that. They're going to have to, if, as you said, because they got to get him off his spot. They got to get him to move around and run around. Which is where he's at his best too. But when they do that, they can't let him. They could force him out side to side. If they let him step up through the pocket and escape, that's where he's really dangerous, because that's when he gets most of his rushing yards, is right up the middle. He did it against Mizzou last year. Several like 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s. The gap would open up in the middle of the field, right up the middle, get 10, 11, 12 yards. He did it against LSU and got 2 long runs, including the game clinching touchdown where he did that exact same thing. LSU did blitz him, but they went around the sides, big pocket up, big hole up the middle. Goodbye. So they're going to have to do that, but they're going to have to, if they are going to flush him out. And a lot of guys, they're kind of those Patrick Mahomes guys, you don't want to flush them out to the side because they're really dangerous doing that. Pavia is not a fast guy. So he's shifty, but he's not going to beat a lot of guys in wind sprints. So if you get him out on the outside, A, his accuracy goes down, and then B, he's not going to be able to outrun your linebackers when you get him out in space like that. It's where he can cut up the middle and limit the amount of distance he has to travel to gain yards. That's where he's effective.
He's smart. He's a smart rusher. It's a lot like Cody Schrader. Like, I shouldn't be getting beat by this guy, but I'm getting beat by this guy, which the most infuriating thing in sports is like, why is this working? It should not work that way. But, look, I've loved Diego Pavia since he's been at New Mexico State. I thought it was super cool how this kid from New Mexico was beating, Auburn and Hugh Freeze and beating Liberty and taking New Mexico State, which stunk. So I've respected what he's done for a long time. I don't think that college football coaches are dumb enough to overlook a guy like that. I do think that there are college football players that go, yeah, I don't know. I think we got it. and kind of seeing it in person is like, oh, okay, yeah, this dude's legit. And there's a lot of guys who have gone up against him before who are still on Missouri's defense who are here to go, no, this, hey, we're paying attention. We know what to do. We know what to look for. So I think a little bit of experience, a second go around in the SEC, it can benefit Pavia. It can also benefit the defenses. Corey Batoon was here previously. Dalen Carnell has been here previously. Tristan Newsom's been here. Chris McClellan, Zion Young, like they've done this before. So I feel good about that. But if it was that easy, he wouldn't be doing anything, and yet here he is, dark horse Heisman contender for Vanderbilt. That's where we're at. So your key on the offense, I think, is important. I think the key on defense is going to be important too. You got to be able to create pressure without blitzing guys, and we think that our guys are good. Zion Young wants to swear on his mama in front of God and country, and go ahead and do that. Like, I'm fine with that, but you also got to deliver, and it's going to be tough with that guy, especially with one of the top 10 offensive lines in the country. Okay. Here's the other thing that I think really benefits Missouri. They just got done playing two elite defenses, right? And got basically nothing in the ground game out of it. Vanderbilt's defense is merely excellent. And I'm not trying to backhand compliment them because they are very good. But it's not second best rushing defense in the country. It's the 65th best rushing defense in the country. It's the 59th best passing defense. They will give up yards on the ground. Now, once they get a hand on you, you go down. There's not a whole lot of breaking tackles or yards after contact, but they're kind of Georgia amoeba from like the mid 2010s where they don't do a lot of havoc. They just swarm and take you down and limit you. So I think there's going to be room for Ahmad Hardy to get going, right? He's going to have some reps. He's going to get some, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Jamal Roberts is going to get some carries there. I think that's going to make things a little bit easier. Now, famous last words, but sometimes going from elite to excellent, it's like been playing on Heisman and then taking it down to All-American. You're like, oh, okay, I got this. Is there any aspect of Vanderbilt's defense that you like to see them attack other than just Ahmad Hardy left, right, and center?
Their secondary isn't great. They're that low in pass defense because their secondary isn't great. Their defensive line is really good at getting pressure without blitzing. So they're good at doing what Mizzou needs to do to control Pavia. They get a lot of pressure just with their front four. But their secondary isn't great. So I really would like to see more passing early in downs, which is something they did not do in Auburn against Auburn, because I think they can, to your point, on a 2nd and 10, it's not the end of the world against Vanderbilt to run the ball. But if it's 2nd and 10 against Auburn, you try to run the ball, it's 2 yards, and then you're looking at 3rd and 8. Throw more passing on early downs, which they did not do against Auburn. They really didn't do it much against Alabama either, and attack that secondary when Vanderbilt's defense their defensive front is expecting a run, because they're not going to be pinning their ears back yet. They're not going to be coming hard at the passer. If they can get the ball out quick, maybe a few more screens. I was asking for them on earlier in the week too. But get the ball out quick, but throw the ball more on early downs. I think will make those the secondary even more vulnerable than they already are, because the linebackers are going to be creeping up too, expecting run as well.
I think that's a good point. Against Auburn, Missouri on first down ran it 24 times and passed it 13. And
their success rate on first down was like
awful,
bad, yeah.
Awful. And then second down, it was pretty even, run 13, pass 16. And then on third down, run 3, pass 14. Yeah. You know what that's bad for? Keeping the defense on their toes. Yeah. That's bad for Bo Pribula.
Because it's predictable.
Yes.
Very predictable. And it also means that you're in 3rd and longs if you're passing every third down. Every third down.
And like I said, in the beyond the box score, Missouri averaged less than 3 yards on first down. They're averaging at least 3rd and 9. So they had to pass. Not only did they have to pass, because they're behind, but then it was obvious that they're going to pass. And that's not good for a quarterback who needs to kind of get a little bit of a rhythm in his passing game, like Bo Pribula does, and who struggles with confusing cloud coverage, especially when you know that you can get confusing and creative in your blitz schemes and in your zone concepts. So, yes, we want to run the ball. Eli Drinkwitz wants to. Kirby Moore wants to. The Missouri fan base wants to run the ball. but you can't be predictable about it, even if you are good. Last week, Auburn showed us that Missouri's run game is not elite when it goes against elite defenses. So, yeah, I want to see a little bit of variability there. Keep your second and third downs manageable instead of obvious, and stay out of passing downs. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. For the Missouri offensive line, the tackles did pretty well last week. It's the interior, and Ahmad Hardy is good at breaking tackles. He's good at being shifty, but it only matters so much if you get the ball and there's immediately a guy there. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know. My confidence is so shot from of the offensive line from the Auburn game, and that's probably not fair because it's one of the best in the country, literally the best. But we got to get different schemes out there. I want some screens and I want some running back dump offs. Can we get some running back passing game back? Can we do that? Is that illegal?
That would be great. Jamal Roberts, despite hit a drop and then a screen pass through his hands against Auburn, is a pretty dependable receiving back. And honestly, I mean, Hardy has very few passes thrown his way, but he's caught the two that have been thrown to him, right? Or three now. He might have 3 catches on the season now. But you want to get a guy with a ball in his hands in space. That's the guy. That's the guy you want with space. He has had very little space to move around so far this season, even when he's going good. So might be a nice idea to get him out in the flat with the ball and see what he can do.
Yeah, I do think both of them could do well. Jamal Roberts has been targeted 17 times, has 11 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. Ahmad Hardy's been targeted 6 times with 4 catches and 15 yards. And I think Hardy actually is pretty good if you throw him the ball. Obviously, you like to see him run it more, but boy, get him isolated on a corner. That dude?
Yeah, a corner is not tackling Hardy.
No. He'll catch him. He's not going to bring him down. I'm okay with that. That pass he caught against Auburn went for 11 yards, and it was just like, yeah, Ahmad Hardy in space. That's very scary. So I'd be good with that. But more running back passing game, and a little bit of Brett Northleaf too. You're going to get that from Vanderbilt. You're going to see them do a lot of running to open everything up. Everything is a triple option play. Everything is a hand it off, keep it, or throw it. Like the whole play is made out of Diego Pavia. Like they kept him there for that reason. So if you can keep him kind of on his toes and uncomfortable, that's how you undo the whole thing. But God, Eli Stowers, their tight end's good. The other tight end's good. Cade was whatever his name is. Their receivers, Junior Sherrill, he wears number 0. He's a great receiver. None of their receivers are over 6 feet tall. All of them are really, really good at yards after catch and just finding holes in the zone because everybody's looking at Pavia and they kind of drift and find a little open area and then they scoot away and you can't catch them and it's all over. The air yards from their passes, it's like 9. They're not really throwing it deep all that much. That's not the Pavia game. What they do is just challenge you to figure out, do you know where the ball is? We're playing, we're playing hide the ball. Do you know where it is? And then even if you guess right, surprise, we can now throw it in and toss it to somebody else. It's just discipline, and also pressure. So your 4 guys up front have to be havoc creators. Your 7 guys in the back have to know what they're supposed to be doing. Otherwise, they're just going to dink and dunk you apart, and you're going to be looking up and you're 14 down, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, 14 down and all of a sudden it's the end of the first half, and you've had the ball 2 or maybe 3 times, which is what makes it tough. It'll be interesting to see from Mizzou's defensive perspective. So you mentioned Stowers. He's a stud, really good tight end. He'll be probably a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick, if not higher, in the NFL draft this year. Spence is the other tight end's name. He's good too. He only has 8 catches on the year, but like 6 of them were against LSU last week because I think LSU was very concerned with covering Stowers, and so they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets. I think this is going to be a really big game for Dalen Carnell. He's kind of been MIA the last few weeks.
He was not present last week. 1 tackle, basically.
But I think this is a game where, if there's anyone in the secondary that is going to be able to cover Stowers at all, it's going to be him, and that's going to be his job, I have a feeling. So otherwise, you're trying to get linebackers on him, and that's not going to work great. So I think this is going to be a really big game for Carnell, and he's how he goes in terms of how he covers Stowers is going to go a long way to whether or not, because that's who they go to on third and long. If they need a bucket, they're going to throw it to Stowers. They're going to figure out a way to scheme up a play action to get him cutting against the grain, or even he's 6'7", throwing it up to him in the corner. Go 12 yards, throw it up way up high. So it's gonna be a challenge to cover him. That Carnell, I think, is the guy that's going to have to do it. And if he can do that well, Sherrill's good. He's not Cam Coleman, or any of the guys that Alabama have.
Mm-hmm.
So he's guardable. You also said it's an exercise in uh, um, basically doing your job, right? Know where the ball is, but more than that, just be where you're supposed to be. And this Mizzou secondary hasn't done a great job of that at times. And so, if there's a team that's going to really, really try to get you to look in the backfield, it's this team. And if the secondary, if Burks, if Pride, if Banner, if they start looking in the backfield, they are going to give up. This isn't an explosive passing game, but they're going to find a way to do that
Mm-hmm.
if they can't find the ball or are trying to do more than they're supposed to do. If they just do their job, they'll be in the right position, to play good defense. But that
Yep.
hasn't necessarily been the case all season.
Yeah. If you're giving up big explosive plays to the air against Vanderbilt, you have messed up. Just
And they
flat
did
out.
last year. And Vanderbilt didn't make special plays in the air last year, and they gave up like a 70-yard passing play. So, and that was probably the longest one in the last two seasons combined
Yeah.
that Vanderbilt's had. So, yeah, it's certainly possible. It is definitely on the table for the Stevens to do that again.
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing, we'll talk about obviously special teams. If you remember the name Brock Taylor, you probably remember that poor soul who gacked the field goal in the second overtime, causing Vanderbilt to lose. He's still around. He has not missed a field goal all year. Just heads up. He's missed one extra point, but he is 35 of 36 on extra points, 3 for 3 on field goals under 40, 3 for 3 of field goals over 40. So of the 54 available points that he has been called on to deliver, he's delivered on 53. So I think they're in a good spot when it comes to that. Their punter, Nick Haber from Australia, he does allow returns on his punts. Now, Kevin Coleman has not had a ton of opportunities to return punts, but Haber will give you about a quarter of the ones that he does. So if they punt, 4 times, you'll get 1 return. We'll see what happens there. They're giving up about 5 or 6 yards per return, which is not a lot, but you're looking for margins here. On the other side, for them, on returns, don't really do a lot of kick returns. 8 so far this season. We're in week 7, so that gives you an idea of how few they've done. And on the punt returns, they're actually pretty good at it. Martell Heights is averaging 10 yards per punt return. And then they had a guy named Jamison Curtis who returned 1 punt for 21 yards and a touchdown. So, it's just another thing for you to worry about. But yeah, really it comes down to Pavia. Stop him. Then weather the storm against Vanderbilt. Try and eke out as many yards as you can. Run 15, 16 plays. Wear them out. It's going to be a sprint of 2 hours, basically. Like, it's just going to be over in a flash. 10 possessions. Generate 5 scoring opportunities. Average 5 or 6 points per opportunity. Like, it's just, you're not going to get a lot. So what do you think? It looks like Vanderbilt is favored technically. SP Plus sees them as a 51% chance to win this game. The projected score is 28.3 to 28.1 Vanderbilt. So since that's not possible, Hurst, what are you thinking here?
I want to pick Mizzou to win. I don't. If I'm being honest with myself, I don't. I wouldn't put money on it. I wouldn't put money on Mizzou winning this game. They can certainly win, as we talked about, but I think at home, game day, Pavia is the guy that kind of thrives in that big game, attention on me. I think he's going to have a really good game, even if Mizzou's defense plays well. He's gonna play well too. I think that upper 20s is probably where we'll end up score wise, because both teams are going to be able to score points and control the clock, so it's not going to be a shootout, just because there won't be enough drives in the game combined to make it that way. So I I would if Mizzou wins, they will win like 31-28. I think it's going to be but I think it's going to be like 28-24-ish Vanderbilt
Hmm.
is what I think it'll be. But if Mizzou gets one extra possession, maybe that's on a turnover, maybe they get a turnover to get that extra possession, get a touchdown on it. That's how they're going to win.
Okay. I mean, I said at the beginning of this year that Missouri was going to lose to Vanderbilt. Certainly not going to change my tune now. I will say, though, of Vanderbilt's opponents so far, Missouri is uniquely equipped to beat them at home just because Missouri weaknesses are not Vanderbilt's strengths. You know, the styles are very similar. This is a very old Vanderbilt team, but a lot of them were portaled in. So you know the stank of Vanderbilt prior failures isn't quite on them yet. But this Missouri team has been around together for 2 years now for a good chunk of them. They've got the exposure. What they want to do on offense is doable, and they've been kind of iron sharpening iron going up against Alabama and Auburn. So I think it's gonna feel a little different, which should be nice. I do think that there is a chance that they win this, like in the 23-20 range. I am with you though. Diego Pavia's got freaking magic touch, and he just finds a way to win. So I will say Vandy wins, probably 28-24, something like that. But I do think Mizzou is able to take them down. I just don't see it yet. That's all.
Yeah. I think it's to your point, these two teams play very similar. As you said this whole time, Mizzou has, I think, on the whole, a slight talent advantage, but Vanderbilt has Pavia, and I think that that's 5 extra plays that shouldn't be made that he can make that probably no one else in the country can make. Weird plays just out of structure, crazy scramble plays that he can make that just about no one else can. So I think, unfortunately, that's going to be what puts them over the edge. That's one extra third down conversion that gets them in scoring range, or also drains the clock three more minutes as well. If they can keep the ball that much longer. It comes down, and this game's going to come down to the margins like that. Who can convert that extra third down, or who can finish a drive and a touchdown versus a field goal? That's going to make the difference one way or another. Or who turns the ball over one extra time. If this is an even, I mean, if Mizzou wins the turnover battle by one, that could be the difference. Vanderbilt doesn't turn the ball over very much, so that would be very hard to do. But if so one of those just on the margins plays is what's going to flip this game one way or another.
Yeah, college teams are rarely the same week to week. That's one of the beautiful things about this sport. As an anomaly that Alabama could be so consistent week to week. That's why they were so good. But yeah, sometimes things go wild. Yeah, Vanderbilt's been blessed in the turnover department. +4 currently. Maybe that dries up. Maybe they've had the entire week getting domed off by the media, and everyone's like, "Hey, oh my God, top 10 Vanderbilt," and they come out, just a little, we're off a little bit. We haven't been focusing as much, or we've kind of bought into our own hype. Certainly, Eli Drinkwitz is doing what he can. Not that Mizzou's absent of media appearances. He was on Feinbaum today, but he is very much like, hey, we're just there. We're just there for the game. We're kind of the sideshow. And I know he's playing that up in the locker room, like they're not here for you. They don't care about you. And that's how you get these guys fired up. So I mean, wild things can happen. I think it's going to be a close game because that's all Missouri plays. But they have the best player in the country, man, and he plays quarterback. I don't know.
This is a prime Drinkwitz something to prove game.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt gets game day. We had a shot a couple times this year to get it, and they didn't choose to come to Columbia. Instead, they're coming to these guys. We've got to prove that they've made a mistake. That we should be the talk of the town, not these guys. And that's going to be played up over and over again. He said that in the media today for his team. That was to his team. That wasn't to anybody else. He was communicating directly to his team with those remarks. And I bet he'll say it again before the end of the week.
He knows what's up. He knows what's up. So yeah, we'll find out on Saturday. 2:30 kickoff. It'll be very exciting. We will get to you on our shows as soon as we can. We appreciate the patience from you all this week. We with the Amazon outage and then some kind of managerial stuff in the background. I know the shows have been a little later than usual. We are working on it. We will get it out there. You will hear our responses and our reactions to the whatever happens in the Missouri Vanderbilt game. We will get it out to you. Not going to tell you when. We just can tell you that it will be there. Just like you say, you don't ask how many, you ask, did you get it? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it done. But that's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Nate G. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. And of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, MIZ.
ZOU.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.